All right, it's preparing. We'll get started here in just a second.
Perfect.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's training on how you can utilize peer-to-peer fundraising campaign pages during the Big Payback 2021. I'm joined today by two really fantastic nonprofit representatives who utilized peer-to-peer fundraising in their campaign for the Big Payback last year. They won prizes for their success in peer-to-peer, and they were able to raise some much needed funds for their organizations. My name is Kathryn Bennett. I'll be kind of moderating the discussion today. I'm the givingmatters.com manager at the Community Foundation and also work on the Big Payback, all things training, registration, nuts and bolts of the website. So thanks again for joining us. Lisa, you're here representing Greater Faith Community Action Corporation in Robertson County, Tennessee. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the work that you do and your role in participating in the Big Payback?
Yeah, absolutely. So I own a company called Small Town Startup, and we work directly with Greater Faith on their project for the Bransford Community Center. So the goal is to build a beautiful community center in a lower income neighborhood that would also serve all of Robertson County. And we are definitely getting there through events like the Big Payback. So I am the lead fundraiser for that event, and I also do a lot of the digital marketing over there as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa. And Joshua, you're with Amputee Blade Runners. Would you tell us a little bit about your work there and your participation in the Big Payback?
Yeah, so I am the sole cook and bottle washer at ABR. So we are a very heavily volunteer-driven organization. That was our second year last year participating in the Big Payback. And we really just try to embrace the volunteer aspect of it, both in the work that we are doing and how we get that word out.
That's awesome. So you were both, newer to the Big Payback last year, and you both ended up winning several prizes. But in particular, I think what's most relevant for today's training is you both secured prize money for having high unique donor counts used from your peer-to-peer fundraising campaign pages. That was a new prize that we offered last year. We were really pushing that feature. So it was exciting to see organizations really utilizing it and seeing success with it. I would love to hear how y'all incorporated peer-to-peer into your campaigns for the Big Payback. Maybe walk us through how you encouraged your support base to create those pages and how you found success with that. Lisa, would you like to get us started?
Sure. Yeah. So this was our second year as well, participating in the Big Payback. And what we did was after the first year, we saw there was such a benefit with the Big Payback that we decided to get started immediately. And we identified some folks that were sharing a lot on Facebook, sharing the links of our previous Big Payback. And we started putting everyone into a group called the Bransford Advocates. So this was a Facebook group that we were able to tap into at any point in time. And we kind of grew that over the year. And then about maybe 3 or 4 months before the Big Payback, we started really rallying that group and telling them, hey, there's this new feature. We're going to use it. You guys can make your own pages. It's going to be awesome. And we started really, really driving that. We also used our board super heavily for this. Each board member had their own ability to raise, and they were required to raise a certain amount, but also get a certain amount of participation as well. So we wanted to make this a joint effort across the board. And last but not least, we identified some Bransford advocates that we gave the same responsibility to too. So what we found was the Big Payback is not just a one-person job. It's kind of a community effort. And the more people that we got involved and we gave really solid, direction to, we saw insane success from, which was fantastic.
I love that. I feel like you hit on so many elements that really can make a campaign successful for the Big Payback. it wasn't that you had a huge staff and a huge budget to pull off this campaign. It was that you gave really clear direction and set expectations and utilized people like board members and people who were already invested in the work that you do to help spread the word and really promote the work that you're doing. I think that's awesome. Joshua, I'd love to hear from you about your strategy and how you utilize those peer-to-peer pages.
Yeah, I would say, we tried to build on year one, which the nice thing about the first time that you do it is you don't know what is going to be successful or not successful, and you're just willing to try some things. But we also just had to kind of pick like, hey, we think we could, have a goal of this or, things like that. And then, we look back and said, okay, these things seem to resonate more with our supporters and, people part of it. So we are maybe a little bit unique in the space that people are watching, but I would encourage if there is anyone else kind of like us that, you're based here, and you help people here, but you also help people in lots of different areas. So I tried to use that to my advantage a little bit because the amputee community is a very tight and close knit. And it doesn't really matter why you lost your leg or where you live or how old you are or anything like that. If you also are limb different, you are going to find a lot of connection with other people in similar stations in life or in those families as well. It's a very shared experience. So we really just tried to get those people that had a reason to share a story. And, we leaned more on one of the fiancés of one of the guys that we help is skilled in social media marketing and things like that. And we said, hey, Sarah, you're awesome at this because you do this for a job. Would you consider doing this because it's going to help people like Chad and how positive that has been. So we really tried to do that. But I think the other thing that we chose to do is because it was as close knit as it is, we didn't ask a lot of people to do, like we didn't say board member or supporter or whatever, you have to create your own peer-to-peer fundraiser and you have this goal. We want everyone to participate, but we decided to really lean into and support one particular peer-to-peer fundraiser because since everyone knows everyone anyway, or they would feel like that, even if they don't actually have that. That just seemed to be the better thing for us last year. And, we're still trying to decide, like, was that the right thing? And should we always try to do the same thing? But that seemed to be pretty successful for us.
That is great. I mean, community storytelling, those are all such powerful tools. And I think that they can help grow a campaign for the Big Payback into something that's really special. You're bringing people together and allowing them to share something that's really important to them. So I love that was such a focus for y'all and that you found a way to use that feature in a way that suited you and as a way to learn and try something new. I think that's fantastic. We did get a question from one of our viewers who's watching live today. Lisa, Elaine wants to know what was the amount that you asked your board members to fundraise? Do you remember if there was like a certain dollar amount?
Yeah, so we wanted to keep it accessible. We didn't want to give like each board member has to raise $1,000. And I believe it was around like $250. And we only have about 15 board members. But what was really cool was almost every single board member far exceeded that. So by giving them a super achievable goal and giving them time to achieve it, right? We've definitely failed where we've been like, in 2 weeks, we need you to raise $400. And they're like, we have full-time jobs and families and everything else. And you want us to do that. So giving them that like 45-day window, which is right where we are right now for the Big Payback about to do something super achievable like that, it really engages them because first and foremost, this is something that they're going to achieve. They're going to feel good about when they achieve it. And then when they exceed it, we're going to celebrate together. So that was a really big thing for us. So it wasn't a massive amount. And that's the same thing with our advocates too. We didn't ask for a massive amount because we know that on Big Payback, I don't want to say that we have competitors, but we want to give to multiple nonprofits because there are a lot of nonprofits doing great work in our community. And that includes our board members. Even though they have vested interest in Bransford, they have interest in other nonprofits too. We want to make sure that they have enough discretionary income to kind of help everyone out.
That's awesome. Thanks for addressing that. And, you know, that's something we talk a lot about internally when we're talking about the big payback, is that there's a power behind those small gifts and getting lots of people to come together and show support in that way. It doesn't have to just be about the huge, you know, $1,000 gift. You know, if a lot of people come together with a small amount that they can contribute, then something big can happen. And I think in your case, that strategy set you up to win prize money, you know, because you had that high count of unique donors. So that's great. Thanks for asking that question, Elaine. So the next thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about, like looking back on last year, were there any successes that you're really, really proud of, or maybe any lessons learned that you are thinking about as you're preparing for the Big Payback 2021? And either one of you are welcome to start if you're feeling inspired.
Josh, do you want to take it and then I'll go? Or
Sure. Yeah, one thing that we did differently last year that we're replicating now is our community really responds well to the idea of a match and the idea of prizes. So those were two things, you know, I mean, we tried to win some prizes 2 years ago. We didn't win any. But, you know, some of it is like you have to decide, like, I want to win this one. And you go for it. And, you know, there's some, like, if you win this one, it's going to put you in better contention for winning another one as well, you know, based on the size of your organization. If you also get the most at, you know, X time or something like that. But, you know, as fundraisers, you're always looking for an opportunity to have conversations with people. So we use this a lot, not just as a, hey, can you raise X amount or things like that, but talk to people in advance and say, I would like to create a matching fund. Now, some of that, you know, depending on how they want to give a donation, that may go through the big payback, or it may not. You know, I'm much more concerned about getting the dollars for my charity and less concerned about the avenue in which they come in. But if it can help tell the story, you know, that's a very important thing. So you do have to weigh that a little bit with how some of the records are going to show. But if you can use that as a clear way of saying, hey, you know, we already have X many dollars committed. We're really trying to go, you know, match whatever, $3,000 that we're trying to get between 6 and 7 p.m. to kick things off. That does resonate pretty well. And people in general, I think we're competitive and we like winning. And I don't want to say competitive as in, you know, we're trying to beat some other good nonprofit, but, you know, the people that want to give you money want you to do well. And I've also used that as a, hey, you know, if we do that, all we have to do is win one prize, and then all of those additional fees that people may or may not want to cover when they are making a donation, all that's wiped out. You know, we all already coming ahead, and it's, you know, it's a better way of capturing donor information anyway than if someone just writes you a check or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm thinking so strategically. I love it. I mean, and yeah, like people love that chance for a friendly competition, and, you know, whether it's a prize or a match or how they all work together. Those are all things that can get your donor base really excited about your campaign and want to be watching the leaderboard and want to be like spreading the word and supporting you. So I think that's awesome how you're thinking through kind of how it all fits together. And Lisa, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Fine. I totally agree with you, Josh. The match incentive is huge for us. So we do that every single year. The first year, I think we raised close to $30,000 off of an original $5,000 match. And the way that we did it was we hit that match by about noon. We called, one thing that's super important is if you have one singular match donor, keep them close the entire day. I mean, keep them excited, keep them thrilled about seeing the money come in. We were calling that person every hour on the hour and letting them know. And when we hit that match by noon, that individual said, well, what could we do by 5 p.m.? I'll match whatever we could do by 5 p.m. And rallying everyone around that message, like, holy cow, this person said that they'll match everything that comes in till 5 o'clock. And we matched that. And then we called them back and they said, well, what can you do till 9 p.m.? And at this point, as fundraisers, Josh will know this, like, I was just exhausted. I was like, I don't know what we can do by 9 p.m., but I'm just running on adrenaline at this point and going through it. I think that's really, really big. The other thing that I think is vital, and it was huge for us last year, was going live, not only ourselves, but giving the opportunity for others that are, maybe prominent community members or prominent people in your organization to go live on your Facebook page and just kind of do a plea, right? This is what we're doing. This is what we're doing with the funds. That's a huge thing. What exactly are you going to be doing with this money? Is it just a general raise? Is it for a specific project? Getting people to rally behind that was big. The one thing that I feel, I don't want to say the word failed, but one thing we didn't do well is we didn't go after prizes well last year. We knew that we wanted a high donor count. We knew that for sure. We wanted to blow that out of the water from the previous year. This year, I'd like to be more specific on the prizes that we'd like to win and kind of hone in on those efforts, because I think that they would be received much better. But, it comes down to planning. So what is important to you? I think the prizes for us are definitely, like Josh said, they wipe out the fees. So it's easy and it's a fun way to kind of rally people behind a general mission.
That is awesome. I love what everything you said about your match donor and like how you kept them like excited and invested throughout the day, and how just you were able to turn that $5,000 match into something that was probably bigger than you had even anticipated when you secured that match. I just think that's incredible. Congrats on that. I think we have a lot of folks watching today, whether they're watching live or they're watching a recorded version of the training, that are thinking to themselves, like, I just don't know how I can do this. Like, this doesn't feel achievable for my organization, or like the big payback still feels a little bit intimidating. Do you have any advice for folks who are just getting started, or maybe a little hesitant on using some features like the peer-to-peer pages?
I think from my perspective, it's really important to get a group together that will commit ahead of time to X amount of dollars that they'll donate to your fund. So even if it's like you get 10 people together that are committed to giving $50 each, it makes the big payback more achievable. So maybe your goal is $1,000, which is nothing to sneeze at. That's a great goal for your first year of doing big payback. The goal for big payback is not necessarily to raise $1 million. It's to get brand awareness out there. It's to get money in, and it's to bring in new potential advocates for your nonprofit that you can then, tap into throughout the rest of the year and tell your story better. So for me, when I look at the big payback and when we bring on new clients outside of Bransford, other nonprofits that are doing it, I think to myself, the first year should be a brand awareness play. It should be something where you have a very achievable goal that you're really proud of, but you're using the big payback as a platform to more or less get your story out, because y'all do a really great job of dispersing the information about all these nonprofits that are changing lives in Middle Tennessee. So that's a really big deal.
Yeah, I would say for anyone who is hesitant about, is it worth it? Because there is a lot that we're all trying to get done, and maybe life is just a little bit more complicated than it historically has been. But maybe just focus on the mission side of it and see what happens on the fundraising side. One of the things that I loved most about last year is one of the stories that we were able to tell was the mother of a child that we helped lost her foot several years ago in a lawnmower accident. And, the mom works for a, small video production company. And she said, hey, I'd like to, make a video about what you guys, her story and how you helped her. And, it was a nice thing, and we didn't have to pay anything for it. So sure, great, free media. But then, one of the other people who saw that is another mom who has a little girl that lost her foot a year ago, also in a lawnmower accident. And she saw that, and, she wanted to reach out. And, yes, it's really stressful to talk to people while you're trying to do that 24-hour push and you are on fumes, but you also are thinking like, hey, this is why I'm doing it, is because I raised money and I could feel really good of, hey, we brought in enough money that we can take care of that little girl for a long time. So, just think about it in terms of the people you are actually trying to help. And this is a way that you're not only getting the funds to help them, but maybe there's someone that needs your help that they don't know about you, or they don't feel comfortable asking for that help until they see all of this.
Oh, that is just incredibly moving. Oh my gosh. Thanks for sharing that story. I think that's such a big part of success in the Big Payback, is thinking about who's in your corner, who's like benefited from your organization, who has that powerful story to tell, and how can they inspire others. And maybe it's through donating a service like creating a video. Maybe it's by taking a few minutes to build out a fundraising page and sharing that to their email contact list and their Facebook page. Like, there are so many different ways that we can get those people who love us plugged in to a campaign. And so then it's not just one person having to push out that messaging for 24 hours, but can really be about community and about those lives that you're touching. So that's just great. I did want to take a few minutes just to kind of touch on some logistical pieces of the peer-to-peer pages and some questions that I get frequently. If you've been approved to participate in the Big Payback this year, you can go ahead and start having your supporters build out those fundraising pages. There's a big Start a Fundraiser button on your organization's page. It's pretty simple to build out a page. You give it a title, and you set a goal, and you tell your story about why you want to support that organization, and then you can publish it. It's live, and we'll take care of adding the donate buttons once giving for the Big Payback opens. The early giving period will open just like last year, 1 week prior to the Big Payback, so on April 28th at 6 p.m. So you'll have from then until the end of the Big Payback, which is 6 p.m. on May 6th. To be receiving those donations. So I think now's the time, start thinking through how you can incorporate them into your strategy. I loved Lisa's point about, making like really clear instructions. If you want to encourage people like your board members to build those, start working on that now. We have resources in the toolkit and in other training videos that can help you to really make the most of these features and have a good understanding of the ins and outs. And if you have any questions as you're, preparing for the Big Payback and utilizing features like this, you can reach us at thebigpayback@cfmt.org. But before we sign off, Lisa, Josh, is there anything else that you guys would want to share?
I would just say, have fun with it. Start now, start thinking about it now. I think one of the best things that we do is we really plan ahead for it. So get your core group together and start thinking, hey, how much can we raise as a core group? And can each of us get 5 other people to raise 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks? And it's going to be really amazing when you see how quickly that will spiderweb out. But it's a great day. It's a lot of fun and we love doing it. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa.
The only other thing I would add, and Kathryn, correct me if the logistics have changed a little bit this year, but when you're planning, if you want to go after a prize, anything that you're getting in that week leading up to it, you still get all those dollars, but you have to kind of subtract that out from, well, if I want the whatever it is, the 6 p.m. prize, I'm not going for that. So just be strategic in how you're going about that, because you might want to say, I want to open with a bang, and I want to see as soon as we live, we already have all of these dollars coming in, and that gives you a lot of momentum. But you might not have those dollars come in at some other specified time. So I think you can win either way, but just think through that, because I didn't think through it early enough last year, and we still wound up doing well, but I'm like, I should have actually read all the fine print on some of that before I had some communication with people, which is fine.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, that's thanks for bringing that up. The early giving period, those gifts are not eligible for those like timed prizes or the hourly prize windows. It'll count towards your grand total. But yeah, if you're buying for a certain prize, maybe don't hit the early giving super hard. But I do like that point of it can be nice to have a little bit of momentum there at the beginning of the big payback, to really show that excitement. So maybe that's something to think about too. Lots of strategy at play here. And we do have, if you visit the leaderboard page of the Big Payback right now, you'll be able to see all of the great data from 2020, all the prize winners and the different aspects of the leaderboard. We have a peer-to-peer fundraising leaderboard. So if you do, encourage your board members or, your volunteers to create these pages, you can have a little like kind of inner team competition there to see who raises the most. That can be a fun strategy. You can see the prize list from last year and start strategizing now. We'll have the official prize list posted in the next few weeks into April, but it won't change too much from 2020. So go ahead and take a peek and get working. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate your time. And I'm excited to see what you do in the Big Payback 2020.